difference between getting a grade 7 and a grade 9 in GCSE Biology. If you think it's intelligence, you're halfway there. The missing piece is strategy. Now, many students spend hours revising only to be disappointed with the results in tests and exams because they're not getting the grade that they want. And the reason for that is because they're focusing on cramming rather than fully understanding the concepts. So today, I'm going to show you exactly how top students approach GCSE Biology revision and confidently secure grade 9 in their exams. So my name is Sylvia Browne, and I'm the lead tutor at the Impact Academy. I've helped hundreds of students boost their GCSE Maths and Science grade. Today, I'll be sharing with you the exact techniques that my grade 9 students use, so you can also do the same. So let's jump into the formula for getting a grade 9 in GCSE Biology. The first thing is that you need to have a deep understanding of the topic. So develop a deep understanding instead of cramming. An example is a student I was working with recently said to me, "Miss, I get confused when it comes to describing and explaining how temperature affects enzyme activity versus how temperature affects photosynthesis." Why did she ask me that? Well, she asked me this because she didn't have a good understanding of the topics and of the concepts. She didn't have a good understanding of enzymes or of photosynthesis, because if you have a good understanding, you understand that photosynthesis is an enzyme catalyzed reaction. So what you've learned about how temperature affects enzyme is going to be exactly the same thing that you say pretty much for how temperature affects photosynthesis. And you will find this kind of thing all through the biology curriculum, where you learn one thing and within a similar unit, or maybe sometime in like a different unit, you're basically being asked about the same thing. You just kind of need to apply it. You just need to apply it differently. And what's great about this is, if you have a solid understanding, you just need to understand that one thing and use that same thing and apply it to the different questions. And the advantage is that it means that you're not revising over and over again, and you're not just wasting your brain paper. You're not wasting your brain power revising over and over again. And that's really important for biology, because biology is such a huge content. You just want to have a good understanding and apply that to different concepts. Now, part of developing a solid understanding is also being able to remember what you have learned. So really the key process, the key steps to learning is understanding, memory, and application. So what I've done is I've put together a quick guide for you that will show you how you can remember what you have learned, so that all of that energy, that time, and that effort that you spend revising and understanding does not go to waste, and you actually remember the key information to help you get the best possible marks on exam day. So that guide, how to remember what you've learned, will be down in the description below. Now, second thing to how to get a grade 9 in GCSE Biology. Well, many students think that understanding alone is enough. Coming to lessons, coming to tutoring sessions, nodding along and thinking, I understand. But actually, that's not enough. And after doing this for many, many years, I can tell you that would really only get you a grade 5, maybe at a push, a grade 6. What you need to push you from grade 5 or 6 to grade 9 is application. And this is where exam practice questions comes in. How are exam practice questions going to help you? Well, first, they help you to really test your understanding, right? So it helps you to test how concrete your understanding is. Because when you start to look at the papers, you start to go, oh, I didn't really understand that, or, okay, now I understand that better. But secondly, exam practice questions help you apply your knowledge to unfamiliar context. So again, another example was, working with another one of my students, looking at the photosynthesis experiment, how light intensity affects photosynthesis. And then the question asks about, well, what would you do if you were looking at how wavelength affects photosynthesis? And she was like, well, I don't know. I didn't learn that. I didn't read that anywhere, and she was just kind of thrown off by the question. But that is a classic application question right there, because now you're moving away from, oh, I'm just cramming that experimental technique, to, do I really understand that technique? And because I'm asked about wavelength, what does that mean? What do I know about wavelength? Do I need to bring physics into this now? Do I need to think about what I've learned about wavelengths at GCSE or at key stage 3? So that is, can you see how going through those exam questions really take you from just understanding to applying, right? And kind of taking you to a different level, to a higher level. Now, to develop that skill of application, I recommend that you prioritize tricky topics. So these are topics like genetics, like adaptations, like those required practicals or core practicals, depending on what they're called, depending on your exam board. This is where this kind of application questions will come up a lot. So definitely prioritize them. So that second step then to helping you get a good 9 in GCSE Biology is to practice questions and apply the questions. The third step linking with that is to use the mark scheme to your advantage. Biology is tricky, and I mean, many students do this for many different subjects anyway, but especially biology, is they see a question and they just start writing, and they think, well, the more I write, then the more likely that I will get marks. But it doesn't matter how much you write. If you're not writing what the examiner wants, then you will not get marks. And that's why it's so important to look at the mark scheme and, check your answers against the mark scheme. Another question that I saw recently, question asked, how do plants get water? And many students will say through the roots, because in biology, we learn a lot about adaptations of roots and adaptation of root hair cells. What the question wanted was soil, right? Or from the soil through the roots. So that is just a 1 mark question, but you can see how just by missing that simple question, then you miss that 1 mark. And this is how students say, oh, I was just 1 mark away from getting a grade 9. I was just 1 mark away from getting a grade 8, right? So just that taking the time to look at your mark scheme and look at what the examiner wants. I remember when I was at school, that helped me quite hugely. It would make a massive difference to you. Now, in a minute, I'm going to share with you how you can get access to some great tips on how to answer exam questions for maximum marks. But I'm just going to jump into something else that really links with this that I'm talking about in terms of mark scheme. And that is to challenge yourself with 6 mark questions. Please challenge yourself with 6 mark questions. So many students see 6 mark questions and they get scared and intimidated and panic sets in and they start writing a lot or don't write anything, or skip it and do something else. Here's a great tip for you. A 6 mark question. If you were fine with 1 2 mark question, then you'll be fine with a 6 mark question. Why? Because a 6 mark question is usually just 3 2 mark questions. So you just need to break it down. You just need to break it down into 3 2 mark question, and then it then becomes manageable answering each of those 2 marks. Now, all you need to do is to practice 6 maths questions as often as you can. Once a week is good. Once you start practicing those 6-mark questions, you will then develop your confidence with 6-mark question. Now, what is the benefit of that? The benefit of that is the 6-mark questions are where you pick up the most marks. So if you get confident answering those questions, then boom, you're at a point now where you'll be picking up the most marks. But the second advantage to that is you will now be able to easily answer all the questions, because if you can answer 6-mark questions easily, then you can answer 1, 2, 3, 4-mark question easily, right? So that is really putting you at a point now where you're setting yourself up for getting those top grades, getting that grade 9 in your GCSE biology exam. So the more you practice, the less overwhelming the exam will feel. Now, to help you when you're practicing exam questions, including those 6-marker questions, you're going to want to watch this video coming up on the screen now. And that video is my top 3 tips on how to answer exam questions for maximum marks. It would show you 3 key things to look out for when answering exam questions to help you get closer to achieving that grade 9. All right, that's all for this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.